It was an ordinary morning when fate decided to weave an unexpected tale. The luxurious hum of a high-end car engine echoed through the dusty streets of a humble neighborhood until it sputtered and died right in front of Thomas's modest home. Thomas, a skilled but struggling mechanic, wiped his greasy hands on a rag as he approached the stranded vehicle. The car's owner, a young, well-dressed man named James, stepped out with an air of quiet authority. Despite his polished appearance, James carried a somberness about him, the lingering shadow of the loss of his beloved wife, Elizabeth, who had passed away years earlier. Elizabeth had been the light of James's life. Their love story was one of passion, mutual respect, and shared dreams. Elizabeth was a woman with a deep love for gardening, often spending hours tending to her vibrant array of flowers and plants. Their home had always been filled with the sweet fragrance of blooming roses and lilies, thanks to her dedication. Her laughter, like a melody, echoed through their garden as she nurtured each plant with care. They had hoped to have children, but fate had other plans. Elizabeth's sudden illness and untimely death left James devastated and childless. Her absence created a void that even time struggled to fill. "Need some help?" Thomas offered, eyeing the car. "Yes, please," James replied. "I think it's the engine." Thomas nodded and got to work. As James waited, his eyes wandered to the house, where Thomas's daughter, Emily, was hanging clothes on the line. Emily, 18, had a natural beauty and an innocent grace that caught James's attention. Her simple, unassuming demeanor was a stark contrast to the women in his affluent circles. Later that afternoon, with the car purring smoothly again, James expressed his gratitude. "You're a skilled man, Thomas." "Thank you. It's nothing. Just doing what I know best," Thomas said with a humble smile. 2 days later, James returned to Thomas's house. After exchanging pleasantries, he cleared his throat. "I have a proposition," he said, his tone serious. Thomas raised a brow. "What kind of proposition?" James took a deep breath. "I'd like to marry your daughter, Emily. I'll pay your family 5 million naira, provided she's a virgin." Thomas's face darkened. "My daughter is not for sale," he said firmly. Margaret, Thomas's wife, had been listening from the doorway. Her eyes widened at the mention of the staggering sum. "Thomas," she said softly, "this could change our lives." "No," Thomas said adamantly. "Emily's happiness and dignity come first." James raised his offer to 10 million naira, sensing the tension. Still, Thomas refused. However, unbeknownst to them, Emily had been eavesdropping. Understanding the weight of her family's financial struggles, she made a decision. Later that day, Emily spoke up. "Father, I'll agree to marry him, but I have one condition. The price must be raised to 20 million. Reluctantly, Thomas agreed, though his heart was heavy. James handed over 10 million naira as a deposit, promising the remaining amount. After the wedding, James and Emily dated for 2 weeks, during which James treated her with kindness and respect, though their relationship was still formal and reserved. Emily tried to adjust to the idea of being married to a man she barely knew, hoping it would bring peace to her family. The wedding was grand and elegant, attended by the elite of society. Emily's parents, though overwhelmed by the opulence, were proud to see their daughter marrying into wealth. However, their happiness was short-lived. On their wedding night, James discovered that Emily was no longer a virgin. "You lied to me," James said coldly, his voice filled with disappointment. Emily's heart sank. "Please, James, let me explain. I trusted you," he interrupted, his voice icy. This marriage was built on a lie. For 3 agonizing weeks, James avoided Emily. He wouldn't share a room with her, and his cold silence was unbearable. Emily cried herself to sleep each night, feeling the weight of guilt and shame. Finally, unable to bear the tension any longer, Emily called her father to the house. When Thomas arrived, Emily broke down in tears. "Father, I need to tell you the truth," she sobbed. "The night before the wedding, I went out with Adam. He forced himself on me. I didn't know how to tell anyone." Thomas's face turned red with fury. "He did what?" James, who had overheard the conversation, walked into the room. His expression was grim but controlled. "Is this true?" he asked Emily. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Without wasting a moment, James made a call to the authorities. Adam was arrested and charged with rape. The legal process was swift, and Adam was sentenced to prison for his crime. James made sure justice was served, determined that no other woman would suffer at Adam's hands. In the days that followed, James began to see Emily in a new light. Despite the trauma she had endured, she remained kind, patient, and honest. Her strength and integrity touched his heart. One evening, James approached Emily as she sat quietly in the garden. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "I was wrong to judge you. You are a woman of good character, and I was blinded by my anger." Emily looked up, her eyes filled with hope. "Do you mean that?" James nodded. "I do. Can we start over?" A smile broke through Emily's tears. "I'd like that." Their relationship blossomed as they rebuilt trust and love. One memorable evening, James surprised Emily with a candlelit dinner in their garden. Soft music played in the background, and the fragrance of blooming flowers filled the air. "To new beginnings," James toasted, clinking his glass against Emily's. "To love and forgiveness," Emily added, smiling. Years passed, and their home was filled with joy and laughter. They were blessed with two children, Max and Johnny, who brought even more happiness into their lives. Max, the curious and energetic boy, often followed James around, eager to learn about the world. Johnny, on the other hand, was a sweet and imaginative girl who loved to paint and tell stories. One sunny afternoon, as the family played together in their sprawling garden, James couldn't help but feel grateful. He looked at Emily, who was laughing with their children, and his heart swelled with love. "Thank you for staying," he whispered to her later that evening. Emily squeezed his hand. "Thank you for giving me a chance." Their journey had not been easy, but it was one they both cherished. Despite the trials and challenges they faced, James and Emily proved that love, forgiveness, and resilience could overcome anything. They lived happily ever after, their hearts forever bound by the strength of their journey together.
Subscribe for more content like this.